And you'll be able to, you know, I suspect that you're going to see some very, very quick lap times just purely because of that additional 2 new sets of tyres they have for this. So they get 2 bashes at it. And at the same time, they've got a clear track and pretty cool conditions relative to what we have seen in the previous days as well.
You think lap record, a qualifying lap record?
I think the qualifying lap record is definitely dictated by the regulations more than necessarily the things, because that was two years ago?
17.
17. My goodness, 3 years ago already.
Yeah, I know. Time flies.
In that respect, it was a very, very quick lap time.
But then we've got class lap records up for grabs, and they've been banged on the door for quite a while, and some quick guys out there, and some of those lap record holders are with us again in not dissimilar machinery.
I think you've got more chance on the class than the overall. I think the overall would be a pretty exceptional lap time to be able to achieve it, but exceptional lap times are something that we've seen quite a lot of in the last few years. But in terms of that, you're going to get very close battles, because when you look through the data from the free practice 1, 2, 3, 4 qualifying session, the differences in most of the categories are absolutely tiny, tiny details. And as much as this is a point for the championship, it's important, it's also, I would say, a psychological battle between you and your teammates when you look at the Rebellions or you look at the Toyotas. And that is a fight where, certainly in the case of the Toyotas, as we're seeing now, one of those cars is going to win the World Championship. And this is a defining moment just to try to get a psychological fight over your sister car, your teammates, the people that you've been having dinner with last night, but want to beat the hell out of today.
One thing I would say is I think this is the last occasion in the current iteration of cars that we've got an opportunity to see the LMP2 qualifying record broken, because those cars are due to be reeled in a little in the wake of the introduction of Hypercar. Qualifying record there. Anybody's memory going to serve them as to what that might be?
A 25?
It's a 24.8 in 2018 by Paul-Luc Chatin. 324.8 out of an LMP2 car around here that is some going.
It's some going, but I have to be honest with you, if I consider the category and the fact of the driver, you know, some gentleman drivers in there, 324 round here. If I go back in my career here, when I won overall the first time with qualifying tyres that did 1 lap.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it was a few years ago now, but the qualifying tyres did 1 lap, and we qualified on a 3:37.
Oh, wow.
And we were doing about 10 kilometres an hour faster on every single straight.
Good grief.
Just shows how good Paul-Luc Chatin is, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, you just see, when you see here, you see the fact that it's such a long circuit, but it's defined by some very key areas. The first sector is the sort of, I would say, the point where you've got to get it right, not because it's where all the lap time is, but if you don't, you cannot gain the lap time back in Sector 2 and Sector 3. Sector 2 is all the way down the Mulsanne Straight, down towards Indianapolis and Arnage, and then Sector 3 is where you can get it completely right or completely wrong, being the Porsche curves. And even if you get it, you think completely right, you can still be a tenth and a half down by the time you drop out of the karting section of it. And then you've got the Ford chicane, which, as we saw so many times, more than normal, to be honest, people making a small error on entry, and the whole lap is gone with a trip through the gravel or a spin or something else.
Well, of our 4 qualifying lap record holders, 3 of them will get the chance to better their mark. Matteo Caroli is the qualifying lap record holder in GTM. That record came back just last year in the number 88 Dempsey Proton car, a 3:51.439. Jimmy Bruni, in the now updated, of course, Porsche, 3:47.504. That was back to 2018 for the Porsche factory driver in GTE Pro. Paul-Luc Chatin is the man who will miss out, of course, with the woes for EDEX Sport yesterday. That car has not qualified for Hyperpole, so will not get the chance to better its 3:24.842. And we heard what Arne's thoughts were a little while ago about Kamui Kobayashi and his opportunities to better that astonishing, absolutely astonishing 3:14.791 set 2017. By the way, the longest standing of our qualifying lap records.
Well, we saw the 22 United Autosports car that was quickest in that last session. And I know I'm going to maybe sound some patriotic here, But I do reckon that car's going to be on pole. Paul di Resta has been absolutely blinding with that. He's built up a lot of confidence and speed, and he is clearly taking, I would have said, time out of it in areas where others have maybe not been able to do so. And so I think for Paul, my bet in P2 goes to them, but by hundredths of a second. Not by tenths, not by half a second, hundredths of a second.
That's going to be a really interesting battle. Let's assume that Paul di Resta is going from the 22 car. From 26 G drive, Jean-Eric Vergne, I think that's a no-brainer.
I don't think so.
No?
Because if I look at the fastest lap time so far, Mikkel Jensen's been definitely up there. He was quicker last night on the averages and also on the fastest.
Okay. Jensen is going to be a superstar in this part of the sport, no doubt about it. Question about Paul di Resta. Is one of a... Apologies.
10 minutes to start HYPERPOLE.
Alan's waving. That's all right, carry on.
Team radio.
Previously on the monitors, concerning discipline, parc fermé and all that. This will only affect the cars which are taking part in the HYPERPOLE session. Track is clean, track is dry. Again, any laps we see or which are reported as being done beyond track limits will be immediately deleted. I will come back to frequency before the session starts.
Well, that was something we saw yesterday, and it's something I think we could see in this session is track limits. Not so much for the LMP1 cars, because you know, the risk point for them is reduced due to where they gain their speed and also the downforce levels they have. P2, I think it could be, and it's the exit of karting. So the left-hander, as you come out of Porsche, you want to let the car run and keep the momentum through the mid-corner, and then also to keep the momentum down towards Ford. And the other one is the GTs, who clearly, I think it's everywhere, every corner, every opportunity.
I wanted to follow up on Paul di Resta. You're absolutely right. His pace in that car has been blinding every time we've seen him in it for about the last year or more. But it took time.
Yep.
And it takes time for a number of the drivers who've driven other wildly different machinery, and Davidson's another one, who took time to find time in those LMP2 cars. What's that all about, Alan?
I think you've got drivers that come straight up to it, and it's like a duck to water. If I take one of the guys in Aston Martin, who I know very well, Harry Tincknell, when he jumped into the LMP2 car for Formula 3, it was a step up in terms of performance, power, everything else. But it was on the logical step of his natural career progression. And so for him, it was power to weight ratio was exactly the same as what he's used to. It was just higher. And so instant. Then if you take guys that are coming from much higher power to weight ratios, then it is a little bit more difficult. And I think they're getting used to that, and also getting used to the way you have to work with a tire. And so for me, it's easier going up the ladder than it is necessarily stepping back down the ladder. That's why I'm so impressed with some of the guys that are actually then jumping between the categories.
Yeah.
Take Harry, for example, racing in DPI in America with Mazda, and then Aston Martin here. This whole jumping between categories is certainly not an easy thing when the differences between winning and losing is a tenth of a second. Or pole or not, it's hundredths of a second. And so there, I would say there's a different sort of skill set, and it's based upon your experience.
We often sort of talk about that as being a modern sort of old-fashioned racing driver. Yep. It's a bit Jimmy Clark, isn't it?
Well, they have to, because ultimately, you know, racing, we used to test. So when I was in LMP1, last year in LMP1 in 2013, before I retired, we did, or I did personally, over 30 days of testing. Now, the whole team is restricted to significantly less than that. And so, therefore, you've got less to do. And so, what do? You don't get bored. And to be honest, I know from personal experience, a racing driver that's a bored racing driver is not a very good person to be around. So, hence the reason, why are they built? Why are they designed? Why are they on this earth to race? And that's where it's coming from now.
Starting to see our qualifying drivers slipping into their machinery. So Paul di Resta you saw in his car, Jean-Eric Vergne in the G-Drive car. So United Autosport's 22 car with Paul. Jean-Eric going out for G-Drive. Racing Team Netherlands, Nick de Vries, probably no real surprise. In the other 23 car, Alex Brundle, or
32 car.
32 car rather, Joop van Uitert. High class racing,
yes,
who's the choice there? That's Kante Yamashita.
Well, we've got James Collado suiting up for the 51.
For me, the other LMP2 car, Jackie Chan DC Racing, Gabby Aubrey or Will Stevens. Presumably, you'd assume Will would be.
Will is the gun. I wouldn't be absolutely surprised if Hope and Tongue was given a run in that, but Will would be, I think, the selection on pace.
Max or Alex?
That's a great one.
I think it's Alex, isn't it? I would think it would be. And the question is, do you give one driver one set of tyres and a second driver one set of tyres, or do you give? If you've got a really tough call like that, I don't know. I don't know.
I think there might be some differences in strategy shown here. That is Alex Brundle's helmet.
Yeah, okay.
Richard Mille, one of his personal sponsors, and very similar helmet design to his dad.
Yeah. Just all the faffy modern bits on it. TF Sport. Ooh, it's got to be Johnny Adam, hasn't it?
You'd have thought.
You would have thought.
You'd have thought. Le Mans winner, of course, in GTE Pro. But there's some names here.
98, Augusto Farfus or Ross Gunn?
Well, the thing is, Farfus is the more experienced GTE driver, but not necessarily here.
In the car?
And not in the car. So that, again, I get that could be a team where we see both of them given an opportunity on a set of tyres.
Yeah, yeah.
33, as you say, is going to be Kante Yamashita.
Yeah.
And of course, those that don't know anything about Kenta, he is the reigning Super GT champion. Not an easy championship to win in Japan. Current Super Formula driver as well, and the current development driver for Toyota's hypercar program. This is going to be a good call.
Senna or Nato?
I think Senna or Menezes.
Yep.
And it's
Menezes.
It's Gus.
Gus.
Yeah, he did.
And again, are they going to?
You look at who did the qualifying sims earlier on.
Are they going to split it and give Bruno a run as well, or
why would you split two sets of tyres?
Yeah.
What's the point of doing that? It's a point of building up your experience and understanding, and it's the warm-up procedure. It's the breaking into Dunlop and down into the S's, and after that, then the rest of the lap flows. And so I would normally. In every circumstance, just dedicate the session and the tyres, one driver, no compromise.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Makes sense. And do you go out on the first new set of tyres? Yes.
Yeah, you have to, because you get two sets only for the session.
Only this, you can't,
Yeah.
So it's,
They're testing fodder after this.
all or bust. And they go straight back into the Michelin bus and they get gouged to see exactly what's happened under the surface.
Well, of all the teams, I think will have been celebrating getting into Hyperpole. We just had a quick shot of the one that I think we'd be celebrating the most. Danish flagged, Barcelona based, high-class racing.
I thought you were going to say Ferrari, based on
the base mid-session performance. I think you're right.
Recently. It seems to be a considerable state of disrepair on this Aston Martin at the moment.
This is the 95 car on the look of it.
There are more bits coming off as we approach 2 minutes before the session starts, and they appear to be going back on. Look at the size of that exhaust on Porsche.
Yeah, now that's.
You could stick your. Never mind, you could put your arm up. You can stick your leg up that.
And we're going to see another iteration of that Porsche next season, with a rear exiting exhaust again. Another upgrade for the GT Pro car, as the current GT Pro car makes its way into GTM competition. We were talking about this yesterday.
Dumas Delatraz or Nate Berton?
Dumas.
See, that's a tough call.
Knows the place like the back of his hand.
Nate Berton qualified on pole at Zolder last weekend in an Audi, astonishingly against what seemed to be the run of form.
Here come the tyres.
Very, very good shape at the moment. So, Jev?
Can I just say one other thing?
Yes.
One thing that you have got to also keep in mind as a driver, you want to ring it like you wouldn't believe. However, this is Friday.
Yes.
Normally, you ring it like you wouldn't believe the last time on Thursday night, so you've got another, give or take, 14 hours to repair any issues. And so therefore, there is an element of slight caution. You're in the top 6, but I can tell you, all of that's fine. TM will tell the driver, engineer will tell the driver gets out there.
As we said, we will wait for 2 minutes after the green flag, which is in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, understood. My ideal situation is when they're coming between Arnage and Porsche, we go. It should put them around carding when we exit the pit lane, which is a safe margin in my opinion.
Session is green, so you heard that Gus Menezes, their plan is to wait a couple of minutes. Alan McNish saying about remembering as a driver that this is Friday, not Thursday. That's a driver, everybody, speaking as a team manager.
Yeah, hold on a second. I didn't finish there because Gus rudely interrupted. I was going to say, as soon as that green light goes on, you forget all of that.
Yeah.
And if you are on a lap, no question you ring it. And also no question the team want you to ring it.
Agreed. And if it all goes pear-shaped, as with IDEX Sports, the team will just dig in and do what they do, which is try and get it done.
Well, half an hour of, well, a new chapter in Le Mans history starts now.
I'm actually very excited about this because I think, you know, it is your utopia as a driver. And it is one of these things that will, you know, it'll pull the best out of. We've got the fastest so far in the qualifying session from yesterday. They've got fresh, clear opportunity. Go for it. It's short, it's sharp, and it's going to be very, very intense.
I mean, listening to a lot of the stuff you tell us, Al, is always an education, but watching your body language in response to various phases of the race is another. And it's clear you're excited by this.
Yeah.
You know, no, not that. It's the little Release the Scotsman that has been released again.
He's jumping up and down like an excited bunny cat, isn't he? That's possibly the tea and the chocolate biscuit he's just had, but even so. So who is in the number 3 Rebellion? Roman Dumas, Bruno Senna in number 1. Oh, bits attached now to it. None of the AMR cars have gone out. So 95 and 97, the 2 Pro cars, and 98, the AM car, which shows Paul Dall'Anna at the wheel.
That would be a surprise. I was just going to call out who we've got out there at the moment. It is Louis Delatraz aboard the number 3 car.
He was on a blinder, remember, in FP3 until he got caught up with traffic into Indianapolis.
Yep.
And he would have, I think, gone quickest overall.
Tom Dillman is out in the Bicolis. Kamui Kobayashi and Kazuki Nakajima aboard the 7 and 8 Totas, respectively. We're on board with Kamui right now.
And it's worth pointing out, isn't it, that this is not just a chance to set a new lap record. This is to go down in the history books as the first man ever to win Hyperpole in each of the 4 classes. And so it's more than just starting on pole. You are starting, bang, right here now, an entirely new facet of Le Mans that never existed before. And what racing driver doesn't respond to a carrot like that?
Well, you're going to be on the front page of every motorsport website in about 30 minutes, is the straight answer.
And French national newspapers as well.
Absolutely.
With some good news for once.
Wouldn't that be nice? LMP2, the drivers in the seats are Jean-Eric Verne above the 26 G-Drive car. It is Paul de Resta in the 22 United Autosports car. Racing Team Netherlands, Nick de Vries, Alex Brundle in the 32 United car, Kante Yamashita in the 33 high-class car. Will Stevens gets the nod in the Jackie Chan DC Racing 37.
James Collado in the 51 Pro Class Ferrari. And Johnny come lately part-timer, Sam Bird gets the qualifying run in his old flame, the 71 car. And a Trident has just taken off from opposite. What looked like a Trident has just taken off from the aerodrome opposite. Can't believe anybody still has an airworthy Trident, but anyway.
Right, sector you need to see as we're looking at the 2 Aston Martins that are now coming out, and we'll probably wait for another couple of minutes before bringing the tyres to the car. 31.3 is that first sector time from Toyota that will tell us whether they're actually in the mix on this first lap in comparison to what they did before.
On the out lap, it is
on the money.
Kaz Nakajima, who was quicker than Kamui Kobayashi, and he does a 31.18.
There's a 10.5 quicker than what they were able to do yesterday.
So is that on lap record pace?
Yes, no. They need to, it's the next 2 sectors is where they're going to do the damage.
Well, going through now some of the GTM runners. Jimmy Bruni, Michael Christensen in the factory Porsches. Wait for the factory Aston still in the AM cars. Matteo Caroli, 56 Team Project 1. Con Ledegaard, the 61 Luzic Racing car. Matt Campbell, Porsche factory driver in the 77 Dempsey car. Ben Barker with Gulf Racing. Charlie Eastwood gets the nod in the 90 car.
I think that's a pretty good call, actually, from TF Sport.
De Vries is on a very quick one, 10th.5 quicker in the first sector as well in comparison to what he was able to do. And remember, he was the fastest in qualifying yesterday.
So 31.1 first sector from the Toyota, a 32.1 from Racing Team Netherlands, the LMP2 car.
31.5 is what this car was able to do in that first sector yesterday, which is a couple of tenths slower than the Toyotas, but the Toyotas going that little bit quicker again. Romain Dumas on the left-hand side there, Norman Nato on the right.
74.8 in Sector 2 from Kamui Kobayashi. Still the quicker of the two Toyotas at this stage.
Yeah, by 7/10.
Yep.
In that sector
quick
alone. Oh, boy.
Now, this point here, you can carry a lot of speed in. He's got a car up ahead of him, you see, which he's probably going to be able to get on the run. Is that his sister car?
That's
actually his sister car.
He's
okay.
Toyota, yeah.
And so he's... Yeah, but he's catching pretty quickly. So he's actually using the sister car as a benchmark, a breaking point, and a target, if you like.
Yeah, so if the car ahead goes off, then you know that he's overcooked it and you are just a little bit more careful.
You're obviously not looking at it in that respect. I would think it's more of just a case of maximising your speed into it as that carrot and stick, and he is definitely using it as a carrot now, coming through here, flat through the left, flat through the next left. Incredible change of directions.
Louis Delatraz, fastest of all in Sector 1 for Rebellion in the number 3 car, 31.10, 800ths quicker than Kamui Kobayashi.
That's what he was able to do in FP3. Very, very good first sector, but it's going to be Kobayashi that's going to be quickest, I think, if he doesn't make any mess-ups in the Ford chicane.
You can hear the tyres over the noise of the car. That's how quiet these things are on hybrid. Car 71 loses its first lap, so Sam Bird exceeding track limits.
15.9.
Wow.
15.9 for Kobayashi.
Wow.
Second set of tyres. That lap record could be on.
Oh, wow.
Could be.
Oh, wow. 14.791, remember, is the mark, is the qualifying lap record outright here at the Le Mans 24 Hours. That came in 2017.
Whoa, and Nick De Vries is off. Nick De Vries is off.
Porsche curves.
So De Vries, who was quickest in FP3 and also, in qualifying yesterday, has gone off on that first set of tyres. Critically for him, he's got another set available. Paul di Resta, he was quickest overall in this Ford chicane in qualifying yesterday.
Gus Menezes in the number 1 Rebellion, now quicker than anybody in Sector 1, 30.9, the first sub-31 sector time.
Di Resta third, 24.528, 1 second ahead of Stevens in the Jackie Chan.
Record's gone.
That's very, very, very early into the Porsche curves. As he's turned in, he seems to have lost the rear. But did you see the wiper has also blown up because there's a massive side force. Very lucky to get away without hitting the barriers.
First qualifying record has gone. It goes to Paul di Resta. 3:24.528 blows away the 3:24.842 that's been held by Paul-Luc Chatin since 2018. We have a new qualifying lap record.
By 3/10. And as well as scrubbing the tyres, Nick De Vries has lost that lap for exceeding track limits. That seems to be a smidge redundant, but it is automatic.
Yeah, Gustavo Menezes has done his personal best in that middle sector, but not quite quick enough. So at the moment, it's the two Toyotas and then by Collis, but the Rebellions are on a charge.
Yeah.
Can he split them?
James Collado fastest in Pro. Michael Christensen goes second. Collado with a 3:51.06. The record is a 3:47.5. And Nick De Vries aborted that lap, came straight in with what remains of his brand new set of Michelins. Well held.
Very, very well recovered, I have to say. Delatraz got traffic in the last sector and so dropped off, but Gustavo Menezes has got a clean, beautiful run through Porsche. As you can see, he was up in the first sector, down in the middle sector, but it's this one where he can make the difference.
Still no AMR cars out on track, and Charlie Eastwood has been out and come back in.
I think this will be a sort of 3:18. I don't think it's going to challenge Kobayashi for sure, but it's a quick one, a bit out of control there as he sort of tried to get it to change direction, dropped a couple of tenths in the middle of that corner.
98,000.
Where did he get that from?
Oh my goodness!
Oh my good grief!
New record.
3:15.822. Gus Menezes goes to the top of Hyperpole. 20 minutes to go. It's not a lap record, but my God, that is the quickest non-hybrid we've seen ever.
That
here
final sector.
Amazing.
Final sector, he pulled it out. And there's a little bit in the bag as well, because if he'd been able to get the change of direction quicker, he would have kept a touch more momentum in there. That surprised me, I've got to say. Very, very good job.
Can we tell which driver's not going to be driving for Rebellion next year?
I don't know. Is that the fastest ever non-hybrid
yes,
lap?
by a million miles.
Wow.
That is an astonishing lap time.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And he's gone quicker again in the first sector. This is not going to be a cakewalk for Toyota all of a sudden.
Wow.
It depends whether he can keep the tyre for the second and third sector, because normally in this you offset a little bit. You gain actually on the first sector on the second lap, but you lose on the second and third sectors.
30.77. That's a second quicker than the Toyota's managed in Sector 1 almost. Jean-Eric Vergne. Lap 3 deleted
That's
for
his current
Rebellion.
lap. That's his current lap, not the provisional pole setting lap. All of a sudden, Toyota know they've got competition for this.
Wow, what a story.
One loses lap 3 for track limits at MP6. Car 1, lap 3 deleted for track limits at MP6.
MP6 is Tetra Rouge leading on to the Mulsanne straight for information. Jean-Eric Vergne G-Drive comes across the line.
You saw and heard Eduardo Freitas. You also saw Lisa Weishart, who is back in the seat beside him. So she has abandoned DTM to come here for the weekend.
Yeah, Jean-Eric Vergne goes second. Alex Brundle, by the way, improved to third before that lap time coming through from Vergne. 3:25, 1:85, 6/10 down. Only 7/10 down on Di Resta's best effort so far.
So it's Rebellion, Toyota with Kamui Kobayashi ahead of Kaz Nakajima, then Louis Delatraz in the second Rebellion and Tom Dillman. In LMP2, the top 5, Di Resta, 22 United Autosports, Jean-Eric Vergne, 26 G-Drive, Will Stevens, third for Jackie Chan DC Racing, that's the top Goodyear car, Alex Brundle, fourth, 32 United Autosports, and fifth, Kante Yamashita for High Class. In the GT Pro class, Sam Bird, having lost his first lap, has gone top for the 71 Ferrari, ahead of Michael Christensen in the 92 Porsche. A lap from James Collado on the way, but it's not green anywhere. The 51AF Corsa car on its way out. Still, finally now, the AMR cars have left the pit lane, the two pros and the AMs.
Kobayashi is responding. It's a quick lap he's on right now.
It is, isn't it? Purple second sector, so quicker than anybody has gone, and a better first sector for him. Is this the same set of tyres still?
Yes.
But he's had one cool-down lap in between.
A recharge lap on the hybrid.
Which also rejuvenates the tyre, possibly a little.
Menezes into the pits.
Kamui is 0.8 of a second up at the moment, and Kaz Nakajima is 0.1 up on the Rebellion
This is
lap.
not far off lap record pace from Kamui Kobayashi. This is an astonishing session already.
Here he comes.
Well, imagine with all of the develop and all of the everything that these cars have got, and Kamui Kobayashi, the lap record holder in it, imagine if Rebellion somehow pull off pole in Hyperpole.
Clear run through Porsche Cars, it looked like that, Alan, for the shot we got of the 7 and the 8.
Yeah, we missed the part of karting. The 8 comes across the line, but it's not going to be quick enough in comparison to where Kobayashi is at the moment.
16.6 from Nakajima. Here comes Kobayashi.
In the background, Kobayashi crosses the line.
Top of the pile.
15.2. Lap record secure, but it is provisional pole for Kamui Kobayashi. 3:15.267.
16 minutes and one set of tyres to go, though.
Wow.
Yes, this is the first set of tyres only. This is only the first foray, isn't it?
Now, you know, we said a little earlier, just before we went live for this session, talked about Alan Witness's body language of these things. He's getting more and more interested.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, but I'm thinking here, if you look at it, that Toyota was able to do it on the second lap on the tyre.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that sort of lap time on the second lap of the tyre suggests they've got some performance.
Well, now the other thing is, Gus ran wide out of Tertre Rouge. While he's in Sector 2, he's already told that the lap's been binned. Was there more in the Rebellion as well? We don't know, because he's brought it into the pits to go for the second set of tyres. On board, or not on board, watching the 98 Aston, that is Ross Gunn.
Half a second if we need it. Because the fuel weight was making a big difference already the next lap, and I made two small mistakes. It's a pretty fucking clean lap, but I think there's 3 or 4 tenths in the driving and a bit in the low fuel. Easily a low 15 if we need it.
What do you mean, if we need it?
Easily, I like the word easily. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Well, he's just basically saying we're burning off a bit of fuel, and if I stop messing it up, we'll do a lot better.
Wow.
I know. Holy cow.
This is great stuff.
How come nobody thought of this 25 years ago?
This is Delatraz. It was not quite quick enough in the first sector, 4 tenths off, but it's a pretty good second sector by him, so he'll certainly pump himself up there. Remember, he's on a 20.3 at the moment because of the traffic.
Yeah, it's not going to put him third, split the Toyotas. He remains in 4th place, 318.3.
For those, by the way, joining us that aren't aware, remember this is not with the success handicaps and adjustments that we've seen for the remainder of the WC season. This is with equivalence technology. This is great stuff. What a rapid car that Rebellion is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Rebellion have always just punched above their weight, whatever they've been running. LMP1, their own cars, or LMP2, back in LMP1 again against the hybrids.
That's so quick through Tetrarouge, just a lift and straight back on it.
And when you see, I was watching when the Toyotas came in through the chicanes, when you see a car like that roll, you know how much grip the thing is generating. Anything else would be skating.
Well, cars that we still need to see what they're capable of. The 2 Aston Martins who have been very quick all the way through this practice sessions and qualifying are now out on their runs. The other one, remember, Nick de Vries in LMP2 because he went off in close to the end of his first fastest lap in Porsche.
Alex Lynn in 97, you rode on board with Marco Sorensen in 95, and it is Ross Gunn in the 98 car. Again, as we sort of guessed, it might be him because he's got much more experience of that car here than Augusto Farfus.
Yeah, update, by the way, confirmed it is the fastest ever non-hybrid lap around the Le Mans 24-hour circuit. It's certainly absolutely in this iteration of the circuit. The last one was in 2018 with the S&P racing car. It was a 3:16.159. So it's a chunk quicker, and by the sound of it, more in the bank.
Yes. All he's got to do is extract it, go to the counter and get that withdrawal. Yeah, and 6 tenths quicker than a Rebellion has gone here before. Again, that was a 16.4. Last and only time this weekend you will see cars coming into the pits and not being refueled. Coming up to the end of the lap is the 97 Aston. This is Alex Lynn. And 95 was quicker in sector 1. He was again half a second slower in sector 2. So Marco Sorensen with a better lap than Alex Lynn coming up. Jimmy Bruni's now top of GTE Pro from Sam Bird and Michael Christensen. Alex Lynn goes 4th. James Collado is 5th, but on an out lap. He's on a second set of tyres. And the outlier from LMP2 is Racing Team Netherlands' Nick de Vries. He is now on an outlap, having ripped the guts out of a set of tyres with a big, I mean, talk about high-speed lose at the Porsche curves on his quick lap earlier. Sorensen goes second in GTE Pro with a 3:51.241, but 4 tenths down on Jimmy Bruni's effort. The ultimate pace, as in lap record-setting pace, is not in the GT cars here. Louis Delatraz, look at that. Yep, quicker. Yeah, really quicker. Looking like this is one in the 17s, and it is 17.278 for Louis Delatraz, so it is the number 7 car, Toyota Gazoo Racing, in the hands of Kamui Kobayashi, a 3:15.2 at the top of the tree. Number 1 Rebellion on the front row at the moment, with Gustavo Menezes, a 3:15.8. 3:16.6 for Kaz Nakajima in the number 8 at Toyota, and then the second Rebellion, Louis Delatraz. I'm good with the Toyota Rebellion top 4. I'm liking that an awful lot. LMP2, 37 across the line. This is Will Stevens starting a hot lap. Yeah, he's already 3rd quickest, and the only Goodyear tired car, remember, in the session. As across the line
comes one of the United cars.
That's Alex Brundle. He's on an out lap as well. Now he starts a flying lap. The other United car, Paul di Resta, waits in the pit lane.
Having set that lap record, qualifying lap record in LMP2, a 3:24.528 for di Resta.
That car looks to be very, very stiff, bouncing around aerodynamically, vertically, and jumping around. He can do it for a lap or two in qualifying. It's not comfortable for 24 hours. Just one thing, Delatraz, we saw him popping himself up there with a 3:16, but he's actually just been done for track limits as well at N33, which is the exit of the karting corner that we've just seen Yamashita come through.
Exceptional qualifying performance, I think, for Louis Delatraz. New guy here this year, of course, winner of the virtual Le Mans. But with this kind of pace,
Yamashita up to third place, pushes Will Stevens in the Goodyear car down to fourth. So in the tyre battle, it's Michelin, 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 Goodyear at the moment. But Stevens, I'm sure, will go again.
And Marco Sorensen on a much quicker lap this time as well for the 95 Aston Martin. He's in sector 3 right now.
There you can see Gustavo Menezes out the car, second on the grid, and doesn't look like he's going to be taking any further part in the 9 minutes to go. We've had a lot of intensity for the 22 in the United Autosports garage. Paul di Resta on an out lap. John-Eric Verne, who's second, still in the pits.
The fastest sectors added together, 194.6 seconds. 3 minutes is 180. So 3 minutes 14.668.
Which is quicker than the lap record.
Is the potential of the two fastest sectors by Gustavo Menezes and the fastest middle sector, which is Kamui Kobayashi. So if one car could put those together,
the lap record goes.
Yeah. The problem is, it's two different cars with that slice their bacon in a very different manner. So that it's theoretical only, I'm afraid. No, I just like my calculator.
And there, Alex Lynn on the second lap pops himself up into third place, right behind the sister car. So it's still Porsche with Bruni, Sorensen second, Aston, and then Aston third. But behind the Dempsey Proton of Matt Campbell.
Yeah, the GTM. Yeah, Matt Campbell. That's a very rapid lap in a GTM car. And in fact, that's a lap record that's gone. That beats Matteo Caroli's lap record. So second qualifying lap record, this time in GTM, has gone to Matt Campbell. So the record set in the 88 Dempsey Proton car last year is ceded to the sister car, the 77 car this year.
Yeah, but I tell you, Porsches have pulled it out in qualifying. Quickest in Pro and quickest in Am as well. Very, very good performance. They were kind of doing their stuff until last night when they suddenly turned it up a little bit more. But today they've definitely got the speed.
Ross Gunn, third fastest, you just saw in the Aston Martin. Car 95, a lap deleted. That's Marco Sorensen. Well, that's not the fast one. That's his third lap. It's the one he's on now.
Yep.
Alex Brundle popping himself across the line. Where's this going to stick him? Alex is fifth in category at the moment. Fourth. Moves up one position to fourth.
So it's United, G-Drive, High Class United. Jackie Chan DC Racing with Will Stevens in the pit lane now from fifth position. In the Pro Class, Jimmy Bruni's Porsche 91 is fastest. From the 95 Aston, the 97 Aston, then Sam Bird in the AF Corsa Ferrari. But in amongst them, Matt Campbell in Dempsey Proton Am car is the third fastest GT of any kind, and the fifth fastest GT of any kind is Matteo Cairoli in the Team Project One Am car, ahead of Michael Christensen, who initially set the fast lap in the Pro Class, which is only now good enough for fifth in Pro. So there are two Am class Porsches ahead of Michael Christensen's Pro Class Porsche.
Yamashita comes in from third in LMP2, 8th overall in this session.
Kamui Kobayashi went out, he's just come back in again, is that right? Or has he been sitting in the pits the entire time?
I think he's going out now.
Right, yeah, I wonder if, pretty clear, it looks to me like Rebellion are not going to go again.
No, they're not, because the drivers are out the car and there's 5 minutes to go. If you think of getting strapped in, getting out, preparations, I don't think it's likely they're going to do that again. The note from Gustavo saying there is a low 15 if we need it.
Yeah.
was a telling point. Then not doing it and then getting out the car suggests that, look, this is where we are.
Yep.
And now the question is, what does Kobayashi want to do? Does he want to go for it? I would think that it's a nice sign-off for this technology to actually deliver the fastest ever lap round this part of the circuit.
And Paul di Resta starts on a quick lap now. And the body language, by the way, in that United Autosports bits suggested that they're not done with this session yet for either car.
No, agreed. Kamui Kobayashi has to find half a second over more than 13 kilometres. But then he's been wringing the neck of the car in the previous 2 quick laps. Can he find an extra half a second somehow?
Yeah, but that's 500ths per kilometre.
New lap record in GTM, and it goes to Collado and the Luzic Racing Ferrari now. Nice. 61. That is the 3rd quickest GT car overall.
Yeah, make that 4th.
Yeah, that's James Collado popping up. So 3 different makes in the top 3 now in GTE Pro. 3, and what was that one? That was a change. Oh, that was Nick de Vries, and he's got second quickest. Yeah. They're not done, are they?
Well, he's not. Having blotted his copybook and gone off, he's very much not.
Well, he's going to be the car behind this one coming down through, so if he is going for a second lap, then he's going to come across a Ferrari at some point on the lap. Just depends on exactly where it is.
I think he's quite a way ahead of him here, Alan, because, which is that one? That's the 51 car.
Yeah, the 51's coming through Tetra, and de Vries is into Tetra Rouge now.
Okay.
There are 6 fewer cars, make that 7 fewer cars on track now than they were when they were doing their first laps.
De Resta hasn't quite done his personal best first sector. He's now coming through the second chicane, and but right behind him, he has got Jean-Eric Vergne as well. So Vergne's in the tow and also got that sort of carrot of De Resta just up ahead. Further improvement in time, but not position for Alex Brundle. He stays in 5th position in on this grid, but to 3:25.4. These are very rapid times from every single one of these drivers.
Com Ledigar in the 61 Ferrari at the top of the pile has just had a lap deleted, so he was obviously going for a second real humdinger in that Luzic Racing car, and just presumably, like so many, overstepping the mark, exiting Terre Rouge. However, Com Ledigar for Ferrari, for Luzic Racing on pole in AM at the moment. Matt Campbell, Dempsey Proton 77 is second. Matteo Cairoli, Team Project 1, the former record holder, is 3rd. Then the AMR 98, Gulf Racing 86, and TF Sport. That's your top 6 in the GT AM class. That 91 having a set of tyres put on, he's going to get the checkered flag if he leaves the pit lane now, so those will be just to wheel it back into the pits. Charlie Eastwood with a good lap going, quicker than, and he comes across the line to go ahead of Ben Barker's Golf car. However, what's this going to produce for the number 8 Toyota? No purple sectors, but it is quicker than he's gone before.
Oh, he had a cut there just before the line. Energy cut.
3:16.0. Stays 3rd.
So he stays 3rd. Both Rebellions are parked, both Toyotas on track. All seems a lot calmer aboard a GT car, doesn't it? Just sitting there.
I don't think it's calm.
No, I don't think it is either. And if you're in the passenger seat, whistling up to Mulsanne at that speed, you would not be calm either. On board with Michael Christensen, he is the slowest of the 6 cars in GTE Pro. Sector 1 was better for him, Sector 2 not.
And just coming back to Paul di Resta, the leader in LMP2, he equalled his time within the 10th of a second, but didn't improve it. In fact, he was 600 slower, and so stays on that 24.528, but still, importantly, quickest Jean-Eric Vergne second, and Nick de Vries has now dropped to 3rd, so Vergne leapfrogged de Vries.
Yeah. Just to give you a bit of context, I know we've got a minute to go here. These times in LMP2, all of them under 3:26, which means all of them were quicker than Toyota were in qualifying, with Kobayashi on a very quick lap now.
Toyota have had 2 laps disallowed, one for car 8, one for car 7.
Yeah, but it's karting, so don't worry about that because it was on the previous lap. Look at Kobayashi at this moment in time. He's done his personal best first sector. He is now coming up towards Mulsanne corner. for the end of the second sector, and then we'll see exactly where he is.
First sector for Kamui Kobayashi, 30.780.
And this is it. This is a fantastic lap by Kobayashi. He's now quickest overall in the second sector. So he's improved on his own time in the first sector. He's done the quickest overall second sector, but he's still got 7 or 8K to do it in the way back.
And maybe that lack of fuel aboard the car compared to the first run, that might be a few hundreds per kilometre, which is all he needs. Michael Christensen, can he push the Porsche a little further up from the tail of the field? He cannot. Checkered flag, he is 6th. However, their sister car, Jimmy Bruni, first. He is the first GT Pro hypercar winner. Lucic Racing's Com Ledigar, a Porsche exponent in a Ferrari. He is the AM class pole sitter. United Autosports' Paul di Resta is still out on track. He is on top of the pile in LMP2. And Kamui Kobayashi is on pole.
That was quicker into Porsche than he did before, further over the left.
Lap 7 for track limits.
Oh, that's the current lap. That is the current lap.
Lap 7 deleted.
That's it. He's bailed already on the lap, but was it enough?
It's enough for pole position.
The record. It looked like it was enough to break the record.
Well, he was 0.6 up at the through sector 2, and that would have put him well inside the lap record pace. Say well inside, yeah. It's a 10th.
Yep. Well, Toyota on pole in LMP1, Porsche GT91 team on pole in GTE Pro. United Autosports with Paul di Resta, the pole sitters in the LMP2 class, and we're on board with the 90 TF Sport Aston Martin. Charlie Eastwood bringing it into the pit lane. Oh, no, he's not.
No, he's not. This is a quick lap from Charlie. No, as he aborted it, he's aborted it. He was quick in sector 2, and I was keeping an eye on that car for a bit of last-minute drama. But, wow, well, hyperpole.
So, Com Ledigar is the AM Class GT pole sitter. Been a busy year for him, running his own racing team now in the Porsche Super Cup, where he competed up until last year. Now racing for Lucic and claiming the first ever hyperpole for GTE AM. Coming in, Jean-Eric Verne for G-Drive, second fastest, but there is the man of the moment, Kamui Kobayashi. Case of perhaps what might have been. Body language is, drat. He'll get over himself.
He should be very satisfied with that. Very, very good laps. You know, it's when you're right on the edge, it is exactly what it's called. It's an average of 165 miles per hour, I think. Average. And so, therefore, we're talking about absolutely minuscule differences. Another person, Paul di Resta, in the 22 United Autosports, stunning qualifying session, period. I have to say it's been very, very good way that he's done everything so far on this one, coming in very, very slowly. So I presume they were so low on fuel, and they do need to be able to give that 1 litre of fuel. Richard Dean there in the middle, a very happy man, I'm very sure.
Yeah, no doubt at all about it. Alex Le Guy is down in the pit lane, and she is with Racing Team Netherlands. Let's see, Alex, if we can catch up for a quick word with Nick de Vries. There's Kamui Kobayashi. Alex, your mic is hot, so the moment you get an opportunity, you can come and jump in. Unfortunately, Alex, we are not hearing Nick there. So we'll try and sort those gremlins out while things go quiet. Graeme Goodwin, excellent opportunity to, on a really empty racetrack. I mean, a bizarre situation, not only a really empty racetrack, a really empty set of grandstands as well, but what a spectacle.
Amazing. Now, a bit of historical context here. We're looking at the qualifying times. 3:15.267 from Toyota in the last year of their TSO 50 hybrid program. The first full year of that program, they were at Le Mans the previous year, 2013. Best they managed was a 3:26.654. They've found more than 10 seconds since then. More astonishingly still, every single LMP2 car beat that time.
Wow, fantastic speed from LMP2. Let's see if we can catch with Nick de Vries very quickly. Alex, what's he got?
Nick, just a quick word.
Yes, obviously starting from the morning, we didn't manage to do any laps. So we were kind of going blind or called into Hyperpole, and we knew there was a quite good track improvement. So we tried to optimize that straight away. The car felt very tricky at high speed. I almost lost it into the kink. And then in the Porsche, the car just stepped away from me. So that obviously gives a lot of confidence going into the next run, knowing that you're not really certain with what you have. And to be honest, I think we were just not as, maybe I didn't do a perfect job of it. I don't think we were as strong and competitive as yesterday with the track gripping up. So I think P2 probably would have been possible, but I think the pole was a little bit out of our reach today. That's it.
All right, well, we need to get those gremlins sorted out. But, yeah, Nick, I think hoped that they would produce a little bit better. But you could see that there was clearly no lack of effort from the driver from that massive lose turning into the Porsche curves. Well, you can see our 4 pole setters are going out for a commemorative photograph on the racetrack, out on the grid. And that is going to be something that hopefully will play a part in the build-up to Le Mans 24 Hours for years to come, because I think that was a very well worthwhile experience. I know an awful lot of people will be watching online and looking at the empty grandstands and the empty campsites and going, oh, should have been there. Well, hopefully next year things will be a lot more back to normal, but I think this Superpole concept definitely needs to stay. And again, how did we not think of this 25 years ago? Can you imagine Group C era with Porsches versus Lancias versus Jaguars, Mazda and everybody else with cars in there shooting for a 1 lap or a 2 lap pole position run? Fantastic stuff. Well, our 4 pole sitters, Kamui Kobayashi for the number 7 Toyota team. And things really are looking strong for them this season. They're the points leaders in the World Endurance Championship. It is the number 8 car, their sister car, that has won the last 2 Le Mans on the bounce and is looking for a hat-trick. But number 7 with the pace to take the Hyperpole. United Autosports, number 22 car, Paul di Resta. That is their more successful car this season as well in World Endurance and in European Le Mans Series racing. But the 32 car was in there. GTE AM, not sure that Lucic Racing were quite aware of what needed to happen once they grabbed Hyperpole, because their car is still in pit lane and not yet out on the grid. But Collado, great lap from him. And the GTE Pro class, it's the 91 GT Porsche of Jimmy Bruni that is the Hyperpole winner in the GTE Pro category. And that is proper factory driver bragging rights ahead of James Collado and Marco Sorensen. So Porsche, Ferrari and Aston, the top 3. In LMP2, Racing Team Netherlands 3rd with Nick de Vries, Jean-Eric Verne 2nd for G Drive, and Paul di Resta, the top man for United Autosports. It's Rebellion, Toyota Rebellion, and this Toyota 4th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st. Our Hyperpole pole sitter for the 24 Hours of Le Mans 2020 is Kamui Kobayashi in the number 7 Toyota.
Well, waiting for the 61 car, we saw all 3 drivers for the Lucic Racing team, together with their, their race winning in Asia Le Mans Series team manager, race engineer, Andrea Giudotti, and great stuff from Collado. Great news as well for Oz Negri Jr. He's been out for a while. COVID-19 earlier this year laid him very low indeed, so it's great to see him back on form as the Hyperpole trophies are put out. Another new aspect to this great race.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to when we can have fans trackside for this, because I think that really worked. Rather fewer photographers than we'd normally have here for this one. But I know our friends that carry the cameras are working well together. There's Paul di Resta. And he's smiling. Excellent. Good to see it.
I think he deserves a Tunnocks after that, doesn't he? Because he's not having any of ours, obviously.
No.
too many Scots in our lineup.
He's not won the race. I mean, it's pole, it's important, but, you know.
Yeah. Maybe a tea cake, maybe. So let's take a look at our provisional starting grid then. The number 7 Toyota will be ahead of Rebellion at number 1, and row 2 of the grid will also be Toyota Rebellion with number 8 and number 3. Fifth fastest in qualifying, the Bicoles car number 4 starts ahead of the number 22 United Autosports pole sitters, and Phil Hansen, the nominated starting driver for that. Into the LMP2 field, G-Drive and Racing Team Netherlands starting with their gentleman drivers because the weather is due to be good for the start. Kante Yamashita will look to put High Class into an early lead, and Will Owen for United Autosports. United again not going with a necessarily hot shoe starter, but the Goodyear shod cars, Jackie Chan DC Racing and Jota Sport both are. Ryan Cullen will start the 16 G-Drive by Algarve car ahead of Nico Jamin for Panis Racing in car number 31. That is row 7 of the grid. Row 8 of the grid, we're still deep in the huge LMP2 field. For Senior Tech Alpine, Andre Negrau. For Dragon Speed, gentleman driver Henrik Hedman will start the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Nicolas Pierre, the team boss and part owner, will also start for Cool Racing, and James Allen gets the nod to start the race for Graf. Duquesne choose Jonathan Hershey to start on row 10, and outside him John Falp will be the getaway man for Algarve Pro. Juan Pablo Montoya starts for Dragon Speed's 21 car ahead of Roberto Lacorte for Chetila. Eurasia choose Nobu Yamanaka, and Garrett Grist will start the 24 Nielsen car, that team's first ever LMP2 start. Tatiana Calderon for Richard Mille, and Jakub Śmigowski will make into Europol's first ever LMP2 start. Euro International put the starting honours on the shoulders of Adrien Tombe, and new boy, relatively, Patrick Pilet will start for IDEC. Paul Lafargue in the 28 car. Our pole sitter in the GTE Pro class, the Porsche ahead of the Ferrari and Aston Martin, and then Aston, Ferrari and Porsche on rows 17 and 18. Then our visitors from the USA, Cooper McNeil starts the WeatherTech 63 Ferrari, and on row 19, Rissi's Olivier Plat takes the start. It will be Francesco Piovanetti who starts for Lusic on pole in GTE Am ahead of team boss Christian Reed for Dempsey Proton. Egidio Perfetti, the reigning world champion for Team Project One. Paul Dalla Lana, former winner in the 98 Aston, starts. Sally Yolok, TF Sport also going with the gentleman driver. Mike Wainwright, likewise Gulf Racing, and AF Corsa's 83 car being started by Francois Peroda. Thank goodness, Vutakorn Ithrapu Vasak will start the 99 Dempsey Proton car ahead of the very tough to pronounce Ben Keating in his Porsche. Thomas Floor for AF Corsa and Tom Preining for Dempsey Proton ahead of Takeshi Kimura for MR in the Car Guys car, and Maurice Chen for Hub Auto. Duncan Cameron starts the 55 Spirit of Race Ferrari ahead of Rino Mastronardi in the first of the Iron Lynx cars. Richard Heistand for JMW, and Horst Jr. in the Felber Meyer Porsche. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your grid. There is a very happy Tom Ledegar, team owner, Porsche racer, and now Ferrari Hyperpole winner. That is the GTE Am pole sitting car. Kamui Kobayashi for Toyota, car number 7, the overall pole sitter for the 2020 Le Mans 24 Hours. Only the second time in its history that the race has been run outside Midsummer weekend.
As the journalists get stuck in with Com, and just to remind you, by the way,
not a journalist, that's Emanuele Pirro. I recognise.
Is it? I recognise him behind the arm.
Go ahead.
Of course, our Grand Marshal for this race will lead the cars to the French national flag. But Kamui Kobayashi didn't quite get it there, the qualifying record here, but will be content with the fact that he holds it anyway, and it will stay. It'll be a while before we see those kinds of times again here, but hopefully The lack of the ultimate pace that we'll see in qualifying in future years will be offset by a dramatic increase in the level of competition in the top class. We'll hear a lot more about that later today, Martin.
Yeah, it's the ACO press conference this afternoon. It's already been pre-filmed and pre-edited in the strange times in which we live, but there are a lot of headline stories going to come out of that. So that will make for some very interesting reading overnight. And of course, progress being what it is, every single time performance is pegged back in any championship, in any racing format, whether it's single-seaters or sports cars or bicycles or motorcycles or whatever, eventually the poachers are cleverer and work better than the gamekeepers. So it will be a step backwards, but it won't be a retrograde step, because the teams will always push that performance on and on and on.
Say the important part of it, and speaking to some of the higher-ups at Toyota, is they want more competition. Well, boy, did they get it today in Hyperpole, but they want more competition in depth for the FI World Endurance Championship and here at Le Mans. And who knows with the Converge class what the future holds for an even more global display of depth and endurance racing with IMSA and the FI World Endurance Championship converging the top classes. There could be some excitement ahead in some other major endurance races in Florida, in Georgia.
Yeah. You just saw Com Ledegaard taking longer to explain his lap than it did to drive it. And now Bruno van der Stiek, who is the speaker here at Le Mans and also the head of the press service, and Emanuele Pirro move on to our LMP2 pole sitter, Paul de Rest. Unfortunately, we are not hearing Emanuele. Not sure whether you are or not. So if we do get to hear anything from these microphones, then obviously we'll wrap up and let the drivers tell their own stories.
So this is, what is this? 3 races on the bounce in WC. The number 22 car has won for United Autosports. This is the 4th in that sequence, or tomorrow will be. ELMS, United Autosports 3 in a row in ELMS, but not all for the 22 car. They're now on a hat-trick in the LMS. It has been an extraordinary transition to the Orica chassis for the team from now from Wakefield rather than Garforth in West Yorkshire. And exciting things ahead. Should say, by the way, also set pole in Road to Le Mans Race 1 with Wayne Boyd this morning.
Well, we're hoping that we will be able to get the audio from the truck to you. We're still not hearing Paul de Resta, but we will just zip it here for a moment, and hopefully you'll be able to hear from him.
And I think we arrived here saying if we could do a very good job, we could go for pole position. And with a new format, nice cars on the track, but the conditions are not so optimum. But to drive this track and like that is something unique. And I must say, for my first time attempting qualifying, I'm very satisfied.
Thank you very much. Paul Di Resta avait interrogé par Emanuele Pirro.
The race, probably you will never have one whole lap by yourself. All I can tell you, enjoy every single lap of the race, bring it home, and be happy. Well done, well done, well done.
Gian Maria Bruni maintenant pour la Porsche. Je vais vous inviter, Jimmy, à prendre également en GTE Pro. Please, Jimmy, take your trophy. Voici, mesdames et messieurs, le meilleur temps GTE Pro avec Gian Maria Bruni. Congratulations to you, Jimmy. So how is it for you to be the first GTE Pro HYPERPOLE man?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's a very nice feeling. The team worked so hard, and then we changed the car ups and down from yesterday to today. We came here with a new car, so very few data, only simulation. The car is obviously completely different from the previous one. They work very hard. Even this morning we changed again the car just for quali, and it works. On the race pace we are good on the dry. In qualifying also, obviously. Let's see tomorrow what the weather will do, and let's see.
Do you like the HYPERPOLE system?
Sorry?
Do you like the HYPERPOLE system? Is it a good thing for you, the HYPERPOLE?
Yeah, it's something cool. It's something really cool. I mean, in a very difficult situation like it is here, where we saw lots of championship and races not going on. It's a fantastic. For Friday doing a HYPERPOLE, it's amazing, amazing experience, and I'm happy to be here again for the 13th time.
Thank you very much, Gian Maria Bruni.
Can we do the interview in Italian?
Very quick.
Well, Jamie, as a personal friend, I'm really happy with you. You left Ferrari as the fastest Ferrari driver. You are in Porsche, and you keep going the same way. What is the feeling, and how do you feel for the race?
Yeah, thank you first. You know, I mean, the race, we've been working very hard last night on the last free practice. We went through all the test points, everything reacted good. So now between today and tomorrow, the engineer will look at the data and just getting better again for the race pace. And the last tuning for the race, I mean, all three drivers, we've suit very well. We know each other well. We were 2 times on the podium in the last 2 years with Porsche. So obviously I'm very happy for this HYPERPOLE, first one in a WEC 24 Hours of Le Mans for GT. So looking forward.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, enjoy the race, and it's very strange to talk to you in English.
Now,
we speak in Italian afterwards.
Kamui Kobayashi, now 3rd pole position for you, 2nd consecutive.
Sugoi.
Congratulations. Kamui, so how is it for you to be the first HYPERPOLE man of the Le Mans history?
You know, I think 24, I mean, anything qualified result, but at least I think we achieved really good car and quality and 1 lap. And we worked quite hard on the race pace, but I think team did a great job. I think we achieved a good lap time. The second attempt was a bit shame because I could have break maybe the record, but at the cutting line, so that I lap delayed it. But still, I think team did a great job. I'm pretty happy with the car, so now ready to go for 24.
Emmanuel, one question to Kamui.
Well, at least one driver who is not completely happy with his lap time, which is something nice to hear, because you can never be 100% happy. Does it bring you extra confidence for the race? How do you see your setup with the other car, and how do you see the race?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think in the 24, I mean, this year so far can be different temperature, and many reasons, can be a difficult situation. But I think still to have the good car when you had confidence in the...
Okay.
It's always very nice to get the before race, because I think in the 24 hour to fight, you always need a confident car. And I think the team did a great job to do that.
Thank you very much.
What is your feeling with the rain? If it rains, it's going to be good as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it'll be good.
Gambate kudasai. Well done. Thank you.
Merci
see you
beaucoup.
during the race.
Voilà, merci à Emmanuel Pirot et merci à Kamui Kobayashi, mesdames et messieurs. C'était la première HYPERPOLE de toute l'histoire des 24 heures du Mans. On a vraiment beaucoup aimé. Merci aussi à vous. Voilà Paul Di Resta qui peut également retourner près de sa voiture, prendre son trophée. Voilà, avec donc Kamui Kobayashi, please Paul, yes, with your trophy. Comme le Doga once again. Kamui Kobayashi for the LMP1 class, Gian Maria Bruni for the LMGT Pro class, Paul Di Resta for the LMP2 class, and Com Le Degar for the LMGTM. Congratulations, gentlemen, and of course, see you tomorrow at 2:30 for the start of the big one, of the big event of the year, the 24 Heures du Mans. Congratulations once again. Merci encore à tous les 4. Kamui Kobayashi pour la catégorie LMP1, Gian Maria Bruni, Kamui avec la Toyota bien sûr pour la catégorie LMP1, Gian Maria Bruni, Porsche pour la catégorie GTE Pro, Paul Di Resta avec United Autosport et l'Oreca en LMP2, et donc la Ferrari, le Zik Racing et Colm, le Dogar pour la catégorie GTE1. Merci beaucoup messieurs, nous avons beaucoup apprécié, merci de nous avoir suivis, rendez-vous demain pour le départ à 14h30.
I thought I'd leave that on, actually, for a little bit of local atmosphere, because anybody who has ever been to Le Mans in the last 20 years will have heard that voice at all sorts of times of the day and night, and actually that's just quite... give me a little bit of goosebumps, actually, even though we're here. That's just a bit more of the atmosphere of Le Mans that 350,000 people don't get to experience this year. So we consider ourselves very privileged to be here and delighted to be able to bring you this race as we roll down through our grid once more. Toyota Rebellion ahead by Collins, then United Autosports the LMP2 pole, and young Phil Hansen gets the honour of starting. Gentlemen drivers going away first for G-Drive and Racing Team Netherlands, second and third in LMP2. Row 5 of the grid, Kante Yamashita and Will Owen for High Class and the United 32 car, all of whom went into HYPERPOLE at the 37 Jackie Chan DC racing car. That will be started by Ho Pin Tung. And Davidson's 38 car just missed out. So the Goodyear shod cars will be side by side ahead of G-Drive by Algarve. Ryan Cullen starting ahead of Nico Jamin for Panis Racing in their 31 car. That's row 7. Row 8 of the grid. Senior Tech Alpine, Andre Negrau and Henrik Hedman, the gentleman driver at Dragon Speed, starts their 27 entry in LMP2. Row 9, Nicolas Lapierre for Cool Racing, and for Graf, it is James Allen in the 39 car on row 10 of the grid. More LMP2 cars. We are deep in a huge LMP2 field here, and that is the Duquesne car starting in 19th place with Jonathan Hershey. John Falp starts 20th for Algarve Pro. Juan Pablo Montoya starts for Dragon Speed in 21st place. Roberto Lacorte, 22nd for Chetila. 23rd on the grid, Nobu Yamanaka for Eurasia, and 24th, Garrett Grist for Nielsen. They make their LMP2 debut here. They've raced at Le Mans before, but in Road to Le Mans. Tatiana Calderon starts for the Richard Mille all-female racing team, and Jakub Śmiechowski makes into Europole's first LMP2 start ahead of Adrien Tombe in the French blue Euro International car, and Patrick Pilet, the last-minute addition to IDEX Sports 17 car ahead of teammate Paul Lafargue. GT Pro Pole, Jimmy Bruni will go off first in the 91 Porsche. And Porsche, Ferrari and Aston Martin in the top 3 in GTE Pro. So Alessandro Pierguidi for the 51 Aston team, and Nicky Team, the tyre licker at Aston Martin, starts the 95 car. Look at his social media for that explanation. Max Martin starts the 97 Aston ahead of Davide Rigon in the 71 AF Corsa Ferrari, and then it's Michael Christensen in the second factory Porsche GT. Missing out on the Hyperpole, WeatherTech Racing, that'll be started by Cooper McNeil in 36th position, and on row 19 of the grid, Ricci Competizioni's car will be started by Ollie Pla, ahead of fellow Ferrari driver Francesco Piavanetti, who starts on the GTE Ampole for Lutic Racing. Dempsey Proton's team boss Christian Reed starts ahead of Egidio Perfetti, the world champion in the AM class, for Team Project One. Row 21 of the grid, Paul Dallalana, former race winner in the Aston Martin, ahead of Sally Yolok in his Aston Martin, run by TF Sport. On row 22 of the grid, again a huge AM class field this year. Mike Wainwright starts for Gulf in their Porsche, Francois Perrodo in the AF Corsa Ferrari, number 83, both regular World Endurance Championship contending teams. Row 23 of the grid, Vitkorn Intropovazak for Dempsey Proton, the only Thai driver in the field, and Ben Keating for Team Project One, ahead of Thomas Floor and Thomas Preining, an all-Thomas row 24, and a Ferrari-Porsche battle shaping up there. Row 25 of the grid, MR Racing's Takeshi Kimura ahead of Hub Auto Racing's Morris Chen, so an Asian battle shaping up there as well. And on row 26 of the grid, Duncan Cameron starts the Spirit of Race Ferrari, and Rino Mastronardi in the 75 Iron Lynx car. Richard Highstand starts JMW's Ferrari from 53rd on the grid. Car 54 away will be Horst Felbermeyer Jr. in the family liveried Proton Porsche. Manuela Gosner starts for the Iron Dames in the 85 Iron Lynx Ferrari, ahead of Iron Lynx teammate Claudio Schiavoni. That is row 28, 56 cars on the grid. And behind them, the damaged car that has not run today of Red River Sport, Bon Grimes, scheduled to start, ahead of Steve Brooks in the 89 Team Project One Porsche. Final car on the grid, former race winner in Road to Le Mans, AF Corsa's Christoph Ulrich. Car didn't set a time, but they have been given dispensation to start at the back of the field. And that completes the grid for the 2020 Le Mans 24 Hours. Morning warm-up remains for these cars on Saturday from 10:30 local time, Central European Summer Time, 08:30 GMT. That's a 15-minute session, just to check that everything is ready to go. That is tomorrow morning, and we start the race at 2:30 Central European Summer Time, midday 30 GMT. Just to look again at those Hyperpole times and performances, a 3:15.267, not a new record in LMP1, a new record in LMP2. GT Pro didn't get close enough to the existing track record, with the 91 Porsche setting the fastest time. And in GTM, it was a new record as well for Lusic Racing and Com Ledigar. And Lusic Racing, again, another of so many of the teams that has come up through the Michelin Le Mans Cup and European Le Mans Series, and as a result have earned their spot here as they make their Le Mans 24-hour debut. Well, that is it for our track sessions today for cars in Le Mans 24 hours. The day is not done for the teams, though. They now have to start at 12:30, what they would normally start about 9 o'clock on a Friday morning, stripping and rebuilding the cars ready to survive the toughest endurance motor race on the planet. We'll be here to bring you every blow and counter blow from start to finish. Join us on Saturday morning. From here, from all of us, it's goodbye.